thankfully, Bar Council in the last 2 decades has not penalized anyone for having a website or for running a social media. Now, of course, if you go over and beyond certain ethical considerations, you'll get a call from BCI. But the basic requirements that a lawyer does have, the fundamental aspects of it, having a digital presence in today's time, a website, a social media page, and a Google listing, all that is being kindly, I won't say support, but tolerated by the BCI because of obvious reasons, and because without these changes in approach, in mindset, the legal industry will suffer, freshers will suffer.
Hello everyone, I am Surbi, the founder of LegalWiki, your trusted platform for legal education and insights. Through this podcast, we bring you inspiring conversation with some of the most innovative minds in the legal industry. Welcome to the 26th episode of our podcast series. Today, we are joined by a remarkable individual who is reshaping the landscape of law and branding, Mr. Sourajit Bhattacharya. Sourajit is a public relation enthusiast with a strong passion for entrepreneurship and legal innovation. He's a co-founder of Ghostline Legal, India's leading BCI-compliant full-service digital consultancy firm for the legal sector, serving over 50 plus advocates, law firms, litigation chambers, and legal service providers. Sourajit, it's a privilege to have you with us today. We're excited to hear about your journey and how you're bringing this fresh ideas to the legal and branding industries.
Good to be here, Surbit. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me. Uh, so, we started the firm 3 years back, and when we started, to be honest, there was no firm that was catering exclusively to the legal sector, and that was a gap that we identified because if you look at the legal sector, given the bar council restrictions, regulations, what a lawyer can and can't do in terms of marketing themselves, branding themselves in India, uh, someone from the non-legal perspective might not have the entire picture. Because I was a law grad in my final year, I thought, and I've never wanted to practice. I've always wanted to do something that had to do with law and tech. I've been a content writer for AORs and advocates since my third year of law school. So during my final year, we felt that there should be a player catering exclusively to this sector, and it should be end to end, and it should be meant for lawyers by lawyers, right? So even if you look at my team structure, apart from technical persons, content writers, SEO experts, all of them are mostly from the law background.
Yeah.
And that is why the law firms and lawyers, independent litigation chambers, they come to us and they trust us blindly with their mandates, because we have that comprehensive understanding of what they do and how to take things forward from the get-go.
Perfect. So I think you have already summed up like why you started this particular venture and you don't wanted to go into the practice. So this was your plan, like from in your college only you have decided that you wanted to start your venture, or this is something that evolved over time when you joined the law school?
Yeah, of course. I mean, everybody tells you that once you're in law school, at least from a career perspective, you have got to try out everything before you think of specialization. Even in terms of a litigator tries on everything before, settling down with maybe civil or family. So similarly, in my first, second, third year of law school, and I was in a law school, it was very stringent with internships. So we had to mandatorily do 2 or 3 internships every year. So of course, till my third year, I had interned in a lot of NGOs, litigation chambers, and law firms. But then towards the end of my third year, I started liking the work that I had done with content with some of the places I had interned with. I was also in-house with a firm called YLCC, where I used to it was a legal edtech organization, and I used to take care of their content and their website. So that gave me a lot of clarity on this field and how legal content works, how lawyers write, and help their content reach the right people. So that the very concept of legal branding and branding for law firms, corporate communication, public relations in law firms, how that entire ecosystem works, was very intriguing to me. So I dived deep into it, and of course, the more I dived, the more I liked it. So yeah, I mean, at least from a career perspective, I mean, a lot of people think because I started this in my final year, I jumped into it, but it's truth is to the contrary. I mean, I had everything sorted in terms of research and how was I was gonna scale things sorted before I took the first step even. It's been a great journey so far, and I don't regret any of it. I mean, if somebody asked me if I wanted to do it all over again, I'd say yes in a jiffy.
Oh, nice. So I think before starting the Ghostline Legal, you also started one venture like CLAW Legal, right? So can you tell us about
Right.
more about this particular venture? What was it about?
Right. So I think back in my second year, I had started this venture. It was called Claw Legal,
Law Legal.
and it was yeah. So it was something on the lines of what we have today at Loctopus. In fact, Loctopus outdated my venture. It was the one of its kind venture back in 2008 by Tarun sir. But the Claw Legal was on those lines, and it was meant with the vision of making events and opportunities and publications accessible for law students. We had a good runway. We had a good run with that venture. We did it for 1 year, 6 months. We monetized it as well. But what to say? I think things didn't work out towards the end, and mostly the crux of the reason why the venture shut down was I was completely alien from all things tech at that point. I was only running it as a founder, and the person who was in charge of my website, some things happened, and uh, we lost the entire website. All the files got corrupted overnight, and I didn't had it in me. Have it in me to build things from scratch again. So that was unfortunate, but I think from that venture, I got a lot of clarity. I made a lot of connects. I met people with whom I'm in touch even today, and they work with me. They reach out to me for help. I reach out to them for collaborations. So I think it was a stepping stone to something bigger. And I always appreciate the people who were with me, who worked with me at that point. We had editors, we had content creators on board at that time, or some of them were even older than me. Some of them were law grads or were in their final years of law school. So and all of them were in it for the experience and not for the money. So that was I was very lucky as a founder at that time. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. You, as you mentioned that you were in your last year when you started with the Ghostline Legal. So, how did you manage your time and responsibilities during your college? I'm sure it might have been challenging.
Yeah, of course, it was pretty hectic, but I would still say, if you look at the curriculum of law schools today, they keep the academic workload in fourth and fifth year to a minimal compared to the first, second, and third years. You
Correct.
mostly have your electives and the the number of hours of classes are also maybe max 3 or 4 hours. So that was I could manage that in my final year. But of course, the workload is pretty much, and everybody is running for internships, for assessment internships, and racking their brains or trying to figure out how to get placed. So since I mean, I could spare that part of my time working on this project because I knew I was going out on my own. But other than that, yeah, I mean, my college was also very supportive. Uh, a lot of my faculty members knew I was working on something like this, and even they felt like it was a novel idea and encouraged me. So
Correct.
I owe a lot of it to them. And at the end of the day, I think it's about managing your time well, because in today's time there are so many distractions around you. If you want to get distracted, I mean, it's very difficult to find time to get even a single task done, right? So if you want to manage academics and your work at the same time, you just have to make sure you give 100% at a time, to what you are doing at a specific time, so that the work gets done. And even I see people around me nowadays. juniors on LinkedIn, and they are doing so many things. And I feel like I couldn't have managed the things they were doing, they are doing currently while being in law school. So enterprising people are all around us, and I think those who have their mindset to something, they figure a way out.
Correct. And you rightly pointed out, at least you had the clarity that what you want to do, like everyone was running up for the placements and internships, and you had the clarity that, okay, you want to start your venture and you are focusing on that. So, like, it's not possible that everyone has that clarity that what they want to do even after like fifth year. So let's talk more about the Ghostline Legal. So what does this Ghostline Legal signifies, and how did the idea for this venture came into your mind?
So yeah, I mean, a lot of people ask me this question because Ghostline is a very uncommon name. So there are two aspects to it. One is ghost comes from the fact that I used to ghostwrite for a lot of advocates and advocate on records. At that time, I used to ghostwrite their articles, press releases, profile descriptions, a lot of that. Uh, so that gave me a lot of clarity on how the entire world of legal content works. The other part of Ghost comes from the fact that because we work with so many law firms simultaneously, we have retainers with more than 200 law firms pan India currently ongoing. So we deal with a lot of in-house proprietary confidential information. And one of the basic premise that clients trust me with is that their information remains confidential. So standing today, 80% of my clients don't have an NDA with me. Right? So signing an NDA is a very rare occurrence because clients see my profile and get that first impression that yes, this is the guy to trust. So that has taken time to build, and of course, we have never, you know, broken anyone's trust. And because the legal community itself is a very small community, if there's a breach of trust with one person, it'll spread. So that
True.
kind of thing, a business owner like me can't afford. So yeah, I mean that sort of integrity has to be maintained in house, and thankfully with my team member support, we have always done that.
Yeah. So what are
Yeah.
the core services do you offer, and what industries or sectors do you focus on?
So currently, my clientele includes law firms, be it boutique law firms or single person law firms, as well as full service law firms. We also do work with a lot of tier one and tier two law firms.
Mhm.
Apart from that, we cater to independent practitioners, like practicing lawyers, advocates, and we also work with litigation chambers. When 4 or 5 advocates come together and they're running a chamber, we also cater to that. So end-to-end legal professionals. Of course, other than that, you also see a lot of legal consultancies nowadays, which are neither fall in the category of law firms or litigation chambers. They are basically advisories to startups and their legal startups basically, where they help you to get your company registered or your trademark filed. So we also, that is a new category that is coming up now, and we are also trying to tap into that. As far as our services are concerned, we do end-to-end tech content and PR for law firms. So when you break it down, tech, may we do website development end-to-end. We manage their social media. We handle their publications. We help them with their directory listings. We also write content for them, handle their LinkedIn, Insta, and do corporate communications, which includes again, uh, you know, uh, coordinating their publications, writing press releases, reputation management for law firms. So it's end to end, whatever is permitted within the current ambit of BCI restrictions.
Mhm.
Only thing we tell our clients upfront is that we don't do two things, that is paid advertising, because it's explicitly prohibited by BCI. So a lot of clients come to us sometimes saying that we want to run ads on Google or Meta. So we don't take up that kind of work. And the second part is anything that can be construed as solicitation. So if you have seen the latest Madras High Court judgment, currently lawyers are prohibited from advertising in commercial directories.
Correct.
right? Like Just Dial and Sulekha. So again, this sort of work is not something we do. So yeah, I mean that's it end to end, and that's why clients prefer us over going to different agencies for different kinds of work. Right. So instead of hiring two different agencies, one for website, one for content, we give them the entire package end to end, and it's much for convenient for them to work with us in the long run.
Correct. So nowadays, building a personal brand is very important, considering the competitive nature and how the legal field is, in fact, it's growing. So it's a good thing. It's a very innovative thing. Okay. So moving forward with my question, how do you see existing and a new law firms approaching how they brand and market themselves, sir?
So yeah, I mean, if you compare how legal branding works today compared to 30, 40 years ago, see, India compared to other foreign jurisdictions has always been more conservative in its approach when it comes to legal marketing, because Bar Council, owing to its own reasons, they have always placed certain heavy restrictions. So if you look at foreign Western jurisdictions like UK or USA, or even Australia for that matter, their lawyers and law firms are allowed to advertise.
Hmm,
Now,
yes.
of course, that advertising has certain restrictions, but they are allowed, and those restrictions come under consumer law like every other business does. But they are allowed to advertise. So, if you look at foreign TV shows, you will see there are lawyers advertise. There are lawyers are there on billboards, on bus stands. You'll see it even in suits, right? But India has always been very conservative. However, that has changed in the, I would say, in the last 2 decades, because primarily I would say because of two reasons. One, there is a lot of competition.
Hmm.
If you look at the number of law schools and the batch sizes in those law schools, in litigation especially, we are churning out thousands and lakhs of law graduates every year, and it's becoming very difficult for law firms as well as chambers to acquire as well as retain clients, because somebody who new comes up and they're offering their services at a heavily discounted rate, uh, always run the risk of taking your client away. So one factor is the competition, and second factor is when you are starting out to get yourself seen. So the discovery factor in starting a new practice where you have to build a client base from scratch, right? So that has become challenging for many lawyers. That is also one of the key problems that we are trying to solve. And thankfully, Bar Council in the last 2 decades has not penalized anyone for having a website or for running a social media. Now, of course, if you go over and beyond certain ethical considerations, you'll get a call from BCI. But the basic requirements that a lawyer does have, the fundamental aspects of it, having a digital presence in today's time, a website, a social media page, and a Google listing, all that is being kindly, I won't say support, but tolerated by the BCI because of obvious reasons, and because without these changes in approach, in mindset, uh, the legal industry will suffer, freshers will suffer. So I think we're taking steps towards the right direction, and it's only going to widen in the time to come.
Correct. And LinkedIn is actually a new platform where you can build your personal brand. So Instagram is also there, but LinkedIn, it's very easy to approach your colleagues and everyone. Okay, so
Right.
moving forward, like starting a company often means like navigating a lot of obstacles. So, what are some specific challenges you faced by building Ghostline Legal, and how did you overcome them? And also, if I'll mention that you started very early during your college time, so it must been challenging managing everything. Although you have mentioned that in like fourth and fifth year it was okay, and there you had that. Like teachers were very supportive, your team members were supportive, but still, I'm sure there might be some challenges. So, what were those
Right.
challenges and how did you manage it?
So one of the key challenges that I faced early on was building a team. So a lot of people that I work with initially maybe did not work out. So 4 or 5 months into the venture, I met someone who is currently my co-founder. His name is Ali. and he's from a tech background. He has been in the tech sector for the last 10 years now, because I don't have a tech background. Just know the basics, and to the extent that if he takes a leave tomorrow, I'll be able to manage the workload. But of course, most of the ideation and the execution of the tech mandates that we have comes from him. So he is definitely a backbone. Other than that, content writers who are with us, SEO experts. So it took me a good 4 5 months to create a team. And the thing about a team is, uh, people leave, right? So people come and people leave, but what's important is that you have the clarity about the people that you want to work with, the mindset that you have when you run an organization, whether the people you are hiring have that right attitude, especially because I am mostly traveling. I pitch to new law firms. I take care of clients. Rather than me, there are other people, members also in my team who are interacting with clients on a regular basis, right? So having the right team on your side is definitely key to surviving, because you might do 6 months, 1 year, but beyond that, it's very difficult to keep running operations if your a team fluctuates or your team is not delivering. So that was definitely a challenge, and one thing that helped me overcome that challenge is, one is LinkedIn, and second is, of course, making new connections and taking initiative reach out to new people on the internet. So that helped me. And the other main key issue that I faced was, of course, money, because you need money to start a new venture. There are X number of costs, I don't know, that have to be borne. So one thing that helped me, fund my venture was when I was previously working with YLC that I mentioned. I had a full-time role there, handling content and tech. So I was getting a stipend from that organization, and that was a substantial amount. So that helped me at least bootstrap to begin with. And then, of course, I loaned money from my father for a few months and then returned it to him. But proud to say that there's no investor and there's no ROI hanging over my head. I have that level of autonomy. Plus, there have been a lot of clients along the way who have helped me out here and there with their networks, referrals, and spreading word that this guy, there's this guy who is doing this type of work just for us, right? So spreading that word of mouth has always also been very key to Ghostline's growth, and I'll always be indebted for them. Even today, 50 60% of my business comes from referrals. And because, like I said, once you start, doing good work, word gets around. And in the legal profession, once somebody works with you and like it, they're definitely going to come back to you.
Correct. So, no, recently I've been talking to a lot of founders and I've conducted 2 to 3 podcasts also with them. So, I used to ask them, what are the challenges you face? And one of the common answer is managing a team. It's very difficult because having a people with the right mindset and, as you mentioned, with the right attitude, it's very difficult to get such kind of a people. Right. Okay. So, moving forward, so like you started very early. So, what do you think are the key advantages of starting a venture early in life? So, do you think you should gain more experience, worked with a law firm or chambers, and then started your venture, or was it your right decision to start that time? So, what do you think?
So I think everybody has to go on their own journey. I mean, you see founders starting their own company even at 50, 60, and it works out, it doesn't work out. But that journey is important. And I think what I did with Ghostline Legal feels right for myself, because I had a lot of clarity, and moreover, I was very excited to go on that journey, right? And even 3 years down the line, I'll be happy I did this. But who knows? I mean, maybe 15 years down the line, I'll be working somewhere else.
Correct.
Just a hypothetical. Praying to God it doesn't happen. But uh, that journey is important, and because it takes you places, it builds your network. You get to meet new people. I mean, it's not just that I know only lawyers and law firms. A lot of law firm partners come to me and say ki my spouse also works here and they also need their work done. So there's a lot of people across different varied sectors that I interact with on a regular basis, right? So it's always a learning experience, and as long as you are humble I think there's a lot you can take from that journey, irrespective of whether it works out.
Correct. So there is one more question in my mind. So basically, what do you think? How important is having a co-founder? Because that's for sure that I know it's very difficult for you to manage everything on your own, because you have to manage your team, you have to bring a client, you have to see a lot of things. So how
Hmm.
helpful is a co-founder?
Yeah, I would say extremely helpful, and I would say it's a non-negotiable aspect because um, I'm not a big fan of doing everything on my own. So, right, in fact, if you look at startups, if you need to scale, if you wish to scale, you have got to have a team that is backing you at all times. So, I tried being a sole founder for 6 months. It didn't work out because as a founder, I realized I was doing everything apart from what I was supposed to do as a founder, which is connect with clients and pitch to people and build my firm and basically focus on growth. I was doing everything apart from that. I was raising invoices for existing clients. I was micromanaging each and every single task. I was traveling for meetings. I was researching for my own firm, writing content for my own firm's website. So it was basically, long story short, I had too much on my plate, and that was not sustainable at all. So I think I met my co-founder at exactly the right time because when he came on board, the entire crux of the work that was managing the mandates from clients went to him. He took over that responsibility, which allowed me to focus on the more important things that I'm supposed to do. As a non-tech person, previously I was working on tech mandates and used to take all of my time. At the end of the day, I used to feel like I did not get much out of my day. So that was I realized ki this will not sustain itself and things will start going downhill pretty soon. So I need someone who can take that responsibility and somebody who I don't have to micromanage. Right. So I think having a co-founder is pretty important from that perspective because otherwise you end up doing everything by yourself. Even if you look at leading startups right now, nowadays, there's a CEO basically who oversees the entire management, but then you have CFOs, you have CHROs, you have COOs who are handling the crux of the work. So I think you have got to have people.
I got my answer. Okay, so moving forward to my last question. For students and young professionals who want to start their ventures but feel held back by factors like lack of funds, technical expertise, or finding the right team, what advice would you give them? And as you mentioned, you have faced, I think, all these challenges, right? So, what would be your advice?
See, my advice is a lot of people will tell you, okay, you've got to take the jump right away or you've got to plan stuff. I think you've got to strike the right balance between planning things out and taking the right dive. So, first step would obviously be, making an objective assessment of what you want to do, what is the scope for what you want to do in the market, what's the, you know, execution plan, how you're going to start things, how you're going to grow things. So that overview of an assessment has to be there, and you have to be honest with yourself whether it is something you want to do alone or you need a partner. How is the money bit going to work? So that kind of planning should definitely be there, but at the end of the day, you can only plan so much. At some point in time you have got to take the leap of faith and take the dive, right? So because unless you try out something, you can't predict whether it will work or not. So planning helps in execution, but you've got to go down there and execute stuff.
Perfect. So now coming to the last part of the podcast. So there will be a quick rapid fire round. Okay. So I will be asking
Okay,
you four questions from you just to know more about you. Okay. So shall I?
please go ahead.
Okay. So first question, as a co-founder and entrepreneur, what keeps you motivated every day?
Money.
Okay. Good one. Second, looking back at your journey, what is one thing you would have done differently?
uh, Fixed my sleep schedule.
Okay. Third, How has this entrepreneurial experience changed you as a person?
I think I've gotten more attentive, and it has helped with my ADHD as well. So, all in all, good stuff.
Okay, the last question. So, one thing you wish you know earlier in the law college or before starting law?
That this sector is too hectic.
Perfect. So that's it. This was about our podcast. Thank you so much for taking time out and sharing your wonderful experience with us. And those who are watching, thank you so much for watching this. Please like, share, and subscribe. And also, we have launched our website, legalwiki.co, so where you will find legal news in concise and easy to understand bits of information under 100 words. So you can keep yourself updated now within less than 5 minutes a day. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And thank you, Sourya, for sharing this wonderful insight. So,
Thank you, Sourya, again for having me. It was wonderful having this conversation.
thank you.